In today's episode, we sit down with Dr. Jen Meyer for a conversation about the sermon on salt and light. We discuss her life growing up, decisions about Jesus and college, theological education, and what it means to be salt and light in God's world. Dr. Jen was visiting with us at African Christian College to teach and do some incredible work on campus. Enjoy the episode. So I am delighted to sit in conversation with Dr. Jen Meyer today and just have conversation. And Dr. Jen works as the development director at ACC, and she's doing some amazing work. And she's over here on campus. Um, you're going to be here for 2 months.
I'll go home the end of July.
Yeah, yeah. So, and she's teaching and doing some other projects as well
hmm
with the children's playground and the labyrinth, and it's just exciting.
Yeah.
And and so this conversation is also exciting for me for another reason, because from a from a distance, really, and I don't think I've shared this with you, from a distance, you have played a huge role in my spiritual formation.
Mhm.
Just watching how you live your life from a distance, and you post on Facebook, and how present you try to be in your spirituality has
Thank you.
really shaped
Yeah.
me. I think it was last year when I asked you about some ideas concerning Lent and what are you reading,
hmm
and what we wanted to read something with Jabu for Lent. So I asked you and you pointed me in the right direction. So even the people that you read for your spiritual journey,
hmm
um I read some of them, and I follow some of them closely. So from a distance,
Yeah.
you have really shaped how I think about myself and my spirituality. So that's one reason why this
Oh,
conversation is
thank God for
exciting for me.
that. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah. So again, so welcome to ACC Podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. So why don't we begin with you just introducing yourself and your background, family background,
hmm
and school, and maybe even your early faith formation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big question. I'll tell you this. Everywhere I go and speak, everywhere I teach or anything like that, I always start out with this. This is what I want people to know about me. I'm a disciple of Jesus, and I make disciples.
Mm.
And that's the core of who I am. And so when I want to tell somebody who I am, yes, I'm a daughter. I'm one of six siblings. I'm a single woman who has a degree in religious education, and I have a doctoral degree in higher education. I've spent my whole life in ministry, my whole working life. It just looked a little bit different
Mm.
because I'm not up preaching, but I've been able to teach and to lead and to serve in a lot of different roles, especially with college students. Most of my life has been at African Abilene Christian University.
Mhm.
So there's an ACU in my life and an ACC in my life. They're very confusing.
That's good.
Yeah, they're both really long names. But my dad was a preacher. My mom was a nurse. My dad loved going to little churches that needed people to help grow them.
Mhm.
He helped plant two churches in one of the cities that he was hired to work in. And so we've been a part of starting churches as a family for a long time.
Mm.
And that's one of the things that I really love is being a part of a small, kind of tight knit group community that's really all about reaching out and telling people about
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit my faith formation. I was raised a preacher's kid, so I was always in church.
Mm.
We were always the first to leave, first to be there and the last to leave
Yeah.
because my dad needed to talk to every single person there.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of learning how to wait. We also learned how to be hospitable. Dad was always inviting somebody home after lunch,
Mm.
after church for lunch, whether or not we felt ready to do it or not.
Mhm.
And our whole growing up world was about church.
Mm.
There's that was the rhythm of our life, and we loved it. And we also hated it sometimes
Yeah.
because dad was preaching in little churches, so we didn't ever get to sit down and kind of be with a church for a long period of time and build friendships and grow with that because he was in one church and then preaching in another church, preaching in another church. Then he went to be trained as a preacher. And when he did that, we were in one place for 2 years, one place for 1 year.
Mm.
Then we finally ended up in the place where he was working for a pretty large church in Virginia, one of the um, states in the US. And then he started planting churches. So we left that church where we had
Mm.
friends and we went to start two little churches in the same region. So transition was something that we lived with a lot.
Mm.
And my mom was the breadwinner in our family because my dad was always in ministry, not making very much money. And she was a nurse, so she could get a job anywhere and everywhere. And so my parents just had a unique relationship.
Mm.
They loved family, they loved the church,
Mm.
and that's how we spent our
Mm.
growing up years. I chose to go to a Christian university, and I went to Abilene Christian, where I finally, when I graduated, I ended up working there.
Mhm.
But I actually have my undergraduate degree is in interior design.
Ooh.
Yes.
Why interior design? And yeah.
Uh, I started as a music major
Mhm.
and I spent my first 2 years as a music major. Then I changed my major because I didn't want to. It really came down to this. And it also came down to this when I stepped out of interior design. How do I want to spend myself?
Mm.
That question from scripture just kept coming up to me.
Mm.
How do I want to spend myself?
Mm.
I didn't want to spend myself in a music practice room for the rest of my life
Mm.
in uncertainty and using my energies in that way didn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
When I moved to interior design, it was something that I knew I was always good at, I enjoyed, and so I finished that degree and the same thing happened. I'm 6 weeks from graduating and I know in the back of my mind I really want to do graduate work
Mm.
in ministry,
Mm.
but I can't afford it. I've been in school forever. I need to go ahead and get a job. So I had a job. I was going back home to Virginia, going to be near my family. And I went to lunch with a ministry leader who was also the dean at the time at the school. And he asked me, "Have you ever thought about graduate work?"
Mm.
Oh, yes, I've thought about it. And I'm going to go home and work and come back and hopefully do that in a few years. And he said, "What if you could do it right now?" Like,
Mm.
how could I do that? And he said, "Well, you could come work in student services, student life
Mm.
at ACU and work on a master's."
Mm.
So I worked on my master's. It took me 3 years because I was working full time as a hall director there. So I was over a hall of 200 women.
Ooh.
Yes. And that's where God just took my heart because I honestly, I didn't want to do that. I did it because it was a free education and a good job with great benefits in a place I loved.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to live in a dorm with 200 girls. I didn't like living in the dorm when I was a college student. But what I learned was I got to be with girls when they first came to college. That transition period of life has always been really important to me.
Mm.
And to get to be a mentoring role model person to people who just left home and they're trying to figure out college.
Mm.
And especially at a Christian university where most everybody shares a set of values.
Yeah.
That was really exciting
Mm.
to me. So it didn't take long for me to fall in love with that
Mm.
job and see the ministry of it, which is
Mm.
what he had hoped I would do,
Mm.
the man who asked me to
Mm.
consider that job.
Mhm.
And as I was doing graduate work at the time, it just gave me another place to practice
Mm.
what I was learning in my graduate work.
Mhm.
So that was pretty exciting.
Were in your graduate work, were you doing something related to student life
I
and
was doing religious education.
okay.
So basically, it was a job. What I started out, I've always loved writing curriculum.
Mm.
I can remember even as a 12 and 13-year-old at church, I would I would go and talk to one of my elders and say, "Things are not going well in our middle school class. I really think we need to do more of this and less of this.
Mm.
I have an idea about I could write it out for you." Just looked at me like it's crazy. I think we need to stick with the teacher that you have and what we're covering because they had a plan, and it was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just telling you. And I
Mm.
think I'm one of the kids in here, and I know this would be better if we did this. So that 12 and 13, I was always planning and trying to encourage
Mhm.
people in our classes at church, could we
Mhm.
do more of this and more of this?
Mm.
So when I was looking at a master's program, I really was aiming toward writing curriculum,
Mm.
anything that would be about spiritual development. I wanted to help churches, parents, youth groups, whatever, um, figure out a better way that we could train up our children
Mm.
so that they wouldn't walk away from the Lord.
Yeah.
And so I learned a whole lot about that, but I got to choose some different tracks. And so I chose youth ministry
Mm-hmm.
while I was doing that as one of my interest areas and curriculum writing
Mm-hmm.
in addition to that. And it just so happened, as God will do, while I was doing that, I was looking around for a project. What could be my final project? You had to kind of find somewhere like to do an internship or
Yeah.
something. And one of my friends was running the leadership camps that were on campus.
Mm.
These are Christian summer camps that were happening on the campus of ACU. And he was doing the curriculum. He asked me to come volunteer because they were desperate for volunteers. So I went and volunteered. And after that first week of camp when I volunteered, I said, "So, I have some ideas."
That's the your
Yes,
own.
yes, I have a few ideas. Can I come and share with you about some of my observations and some of my experiences and a few suggestions for
Mhm.
next year? And so I went and I sat down and talked with him, and he said, "Uh-huh, uh-huh, yeah. Okay, how about this? Why don't you write the curriculum for us for next year?"
Mm.
Yes. Why don't
Wow.
I do that? Yes. I was sold. That was it.
Mm.
So we partnered together and I worked on the curriculum for the next year of the summer camps. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That was, and that's what I did for my internship. So I wrote that up and described that. Well, just so happens I decided to stay an extra year, work one more year in the residence hall after I graduated because I was loving my work at
Mm.
ACU. And right in America back then, and even now, there's not a lot of jobs for women in ministry. There's more now,
Mm.
but this was 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There were hardly any. And so I was just going to take the year, stay in a job that I knew was secure, and kind of float things out there and see what opportunities there might
Mm.
be. 6 months later, halfway through my year, the guy who was leading those camps left. And I thought,
I can apply for this and
no, I thought, do I dare apply for this?
mm.
Not I can apply for this. Because remember, this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm a woman.
Oh yeah.
I had just been through a graduate program where the guys in the classes were just like, there were just a couple of us girls
Mm.
in all of the classes. And they were kind of like, what are you girls going to do?
Mm.
Go be a preacher's wife?
Mm.
You know, not exactly what I was training for. And then I even had a professor in my exegesis class who came up to me and he said, I'm not so sure you should be in this class
Really?
because what are you going to do with this?
Mm.
Just because I was a woman.
Mm.
And I mean, ACU is pretty forward thinking, but there were still professors
Mm.
who thought like this. And so I wasn't sure whether or not I should apply for the job, but I just prayed about it and thought, God has brought me this far. There's something. And if they say no, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and keep looking for another opportunity. So I applied for the job. I interviewed with the person who was over that area, who was a top notch educator, who also just happened to be a woman.
Mm. Nice.
And then the person who would be my direct supervisor, I interviewed with him as well. He just happened to be an elder at my church,
Mm.
and they knew me. They knew my work. They knew my heart. I got the job.
Wow.
Now, it wasn't without a little bit of challenge because, again, even 30 years ago, a woman being in charge of something that's touching churches all over the country.
Mm.
So this was Texas 30 years ago. Youth ministries would bring their kids to our camps.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, they would also bring adult volunteers. Well, adult volunteers are coming to a Christian camp where we're doing spiritual development, worship, prayer, teaching, training, all of these things. And I'm a woman leading these volunteers who are both men and women when they're coming. I'm training them, I'm getting them ready to be the group
Mm.
leaders for the camp groups that we have. And there were some people early on who did not like that.
Mm.
And so there were actually some churches who stopped coming because there was a woman in charge.
Wow.
So, you know,
Mm.
that was hard
Yeah.
because these were people I had volunteered with for a couple of
Yeah.
years before I ever got that job. I knew them, they knew me, but they could not come if there was
Yeah.
going to be a woman in charge.
Mm.
And so there have been some hard moments
Yeah.
in that as well. And yet there have been some real amazing growth moments that God has made happen because I was just going to step right in and do what God gifted me to do.
Mm.
So that was really exciting.
Yeah.
And that's how I spent the next 26 years
Wow.
doing that. And as part of that, our camps were under the umbrella of student life at ACU. So I also started working with student leaders,
Okay.
and I would train 40 to 50 student leaders every year who would come work with us at camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would go back into student leadership
Mm.
during the school year.
Mm.
And so it was an awesome way to really get to mentor and train leaders for the next generation
Mm.
because they were sitting right here and you had them all summer. So
Mm.
that was
Yeah.
some of the best, the
Uh-huh.
best.
Yeah. So during the times where, like, those tough moments where you sense some opposition to,
Hmm.
because you were a woman, what kept you going? What gave you the strength to
Hmm.
continue? Or who were the people who played that role, that supportive role, and people who were there for you to say, yeah, you can
Yeah.
continue to.
There were a number of those. One was a man named Bruce Clayton. He was the college minister at the church I attended when I was at ACU. And Bruce was married. He and his wife Dottie would have members of our campus ministry group over to their house on a regular basis. And one night, he asked some of us to stay behind and he talked to us, a group of me and five other of my friends. He said, "Have you guys ever thought about youth ministry?" And I said, "Yes." Because I was sure this is what I was supposed to be doing.
Mm,
I just had no idea how I could ever get there. He
mm,
said, "Well, I have this idea and I have this contact. I want to train you guys for the next 4 months.
mm,
And there's a church in the Metroplex that wants to hire a team of guys and girls to come and be a team of youth ministers at their church for the summer."
mm, mm,
So I got to work with five of my closest friends.
mm,
We made a team of 6 people. And Bruce trained us all that spring. He did some amazing challenges with us to get us ready for this about
mhm,
how to be open
mm,
and how to listen, how to talk to young people, even though we thought we were really cool college students,
yeah,
so we wouldn't have any trouble with that.
yeah,
But he said, no, there are some things you probably do need to know. And then how to go put together a program and make it live.
mm,
And so we came back from that summer, and let's see, 3 out of the 6 of us went into youth ministry
mm,
of some sort.
wow,
And the others were still friends today, and we still, 2 of us are still in ministry.
mm,
And it's been a great life. But all of that, the first time I ever did it, I was with a team.
mm,
And then when I came back, that was right before I got the chance to stay at ACU and work.
mm,
That's what built my confidence to the point where I said, no, I think I'm supposed to do
yeah,
this. I recognize my gifts. The other thing is, I tell my classes this all the time. Psalm 139.
mm,
When I open up the Bible, I open up the Bible and I read about me.
mm,
I read Psalm 139. I read how God created me. I had to do this when I was in my high school years because, again, I was this girl who was, I have an idea. I have an
mhm,
idea. I have an
mhm,
idea. Um, no, you can't do that because you're a woman.
mhm,
No, you can't do that
mm,
because you're a woman. I I had a favorite elder, and I would go and talk to him about, hey, I have this idea. Could we do this?
mm,
I can't tell you how many times he said no to me
mm,
because I was a woman
mm,
and I couldn't lead that. He suggested that maybe I go find a guy who'd be willing to do that.
wow,
No.
mm,
I could ask them, but they weren't willing to do that because most of the guys who were going to church with me at that time, they were interested in playing football
mhm,
or doing something else that had nothing to do with
mm,
really caring about what was
mm,
happening in the class. That's why we needed to do something different.
mm,
And so for me, that those moments sent me to read in the Bible. I was searching for some kind of messages that would tell me that I'm going in the right direction.
yeah,
Psalm 139 was it for me. It was just
mm,
like, this is how God
mm,
created me.
yeah,
I'm exactly who God created
mm,
me to be.
mm,
He didn't do, it was not a mistake
yeah,
that I have these gifts and skills. I'm supposed to lead. I'm supposed to serve
mm,
in that way and use these
mm,
gifts. So how am I going to do that?
mm,
Well, I thought if I can't do it in youth ministry, maybe I can do it in campus ministry because then people are less worried about it.
mm.
And working for a university is a lot different than working for a church.
Yes. Mm,
So that ended up being the road that God opened up for
mm,
me. And I said yes and
mm,
then didn't look back,
mm.
having no idea when I first said yes that I would end up doing the leadership camps for
Yeah.
26 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's always amazing how God uses some people and plants some people
Hmm.
in your path, and people who always encourage you, and people who just point you in the right direction.
Yep.
Say, yeah, you can do this. I certainly have had those people in my life who, when I look back and look at where I'm at now
Hmm.
and where I was maybe like 5, 6 years ago,
Yeah.
I could still remember some conversations that we had, and some conversations that were very um pivotal in my
Right.
life direction and what I'm doing right now. And you mentioned something about campus life and campus ministry as something different from church. And I think sometimes we underestimate the importance of campus ministry.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe because of the emphasis we have placed on um, Sunday worship. That
Right.
Sunday worship is the thing that forms and shapes people.
Hmm.
And when people just go off to university and whatever, we're like, yeah, they're going to learn something
Hmm.
somewhere in their heads, and then their heart will leave it for Sunday morning.
Right.
And but in my experience working at here at ACC, I've gotten to really see that university or college or institutions of higher learning are really these places where young people or whoever, not really young people, but so, not always young people,
Not always
but
young.
yeah,
Yes.
where people, it's really a place of shaping people's desire. It's a place of
Hmm.
cultivating what people
Right.
want about their lives. That's just the deep thing of their lives. And I think if if universities would take that more seriously,
Hmm.
then there's so much good that can happen in the world if
Yeah.
we would take seriously that when people come to our gates as universities and colleges, they're not coming for something. They're not coming for us so that we can dump information on them,
Right.
but
Right.
they're coming so that we can help them cultivate something about what they want about their
Yeah, they're trying to
lives.
make sense of life.
Yeah.
And the real thing about it, so American higher education is a little bit different than in Africa.
Mm,
Most people come into American higher education when you're 18 or 19 years old
mm,
and straight out of high school.
mm,
And so it's probably for most of them the first time they've ever lived away from home for a long
mm,
period of time.
mm.
And they come with the expectation that they're coming to get a degree because a degree will help you get a better job.
Yeah.
And also, you kind of come to a school that you think is connected to your values.
Mm,
Okay. So when people come to ACU, that transition period is pretty important. And our way of student life that we did at ACU was to surround those first year students as much as possible, give them the kind of support and
mm,
connection they need, but still giving them enough room to
mm,
make their own choices.
mm,
But they knew we were here
mm,
and we were looking for ways to build relationships with them
mm,
so that over the course of their 4 years,
mm.
they would have a safe place or a sounding board or a person of wisdom
Yeah.
that they might feel comfortable coming to.
Yeah.
You guys do the same thing
Mm,
here.
mm.
It's just like that's what we want for our students
Yeah.
here is that they know I'll be a safe place for you.
Mm,
I'm willing to listen to what's going on with you.
yeah.
I will share wisdom
Mm,
if you would like,
mm,
or I'll just be a supporting, encouraging
yeah.
adult friend.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful for
Yeah.
that age and stage of life.
Yeah. And it's both a skill that you can learn to
Mhm.
do that,
Yes.
but also a grace that God can give you,
Yes.
right? As you sit and spend time with God and learning the wisdom, how to be there for someone and not be pushy,
Right.
but to let them still feel that they have some kind of independence to make their choices,
Mhm.
at the same time knowing that I'm here,
Yeah.
that someone is there and I can go to whenever I need something, and work things out with them.
Right.
That's a skill. It's a tricky thing to navigate,
Yeah.
but an important thing in higher education. So um, this past Sunday you preached on Matthew 5,
Hmm.
um, 16 to 13 to 16,
Right.
right? Salt and light. Um, and unfortunately, I couldn't be there
You
because
missed it.
yeah, I couldn't be there. So when we came back from the retreat, so when we left, I was already feeling just some flu symptoms.
Mm.
So, but I still went there. Then on Saturday evening, late afternoon, we went on a bike ride up the
Oh, you
mountain.
did the mountain bike
Yeah,
ride.
and
That's your downfall right there.
did I loved it. And so when we were coming back, I inhaled, like it was cold. So I inhaled the cold air.
Hmm.
And then in the morning, when we went up the mountain, I was at the back of the van and I inhaled lots of dust and the
Mm.
air as well. So when we came back in the afternoon, I was feeling very sick. I went to sleep. And even in the evening, I was just not feeling very,
Yeah.
very well. So I missed your sermon. Like, but at least I get to sit with you and
Yes.
just hear
You need the
some,
mini version.
yeah, man. But anyways, what does that mean for you? Salt of the earth,
Yeah.
light of the world. What does it mean for you personally?
Okay. Here's the thing. Both salt and light, when they are, when they become attached to whatever, like when you put salt on thing, when you turn the light on, changes everything.
Mm, mm,
Okay. Now, I told them one of my favorite things is tortilla chips that are really hard to find in this country,
mm,
but salty tortilla chips are even better. Okay. Sometimes you get the really bland ones, but when you put salt on them, and they're fresh, and especially if they're warm, because they're made at Rosa's, my favorite Mexican restaurant. Okay. But when you do that, it changes everything. Okay, so we're called to be, and what I reminded people was we've just gone through all of these really characteristics of people who live in the kingdom of God
mm,
in the
mm,
Beatitudes. Once you get through all of that and you really understand this is how Jesus wants everyone to flourish
mm,
in this world.
mm,
As believers, we are living this out just like Jesus did.
mm,
So you're salt.
mm,
You're salt of the earth. You are here because you are making a difference. You are changing something. The qualities of salt, this is what it's a decay preventer,
mm.
it's a life preserver.
Yeah.
This is who we are.
Mm,
That's who Jesus called us to be. I don't want people to decay and die.
mm,
I don't want people to lose their lives.
mm,
So, by being salt in the world, my job is to connect with people in ways that, especially most of my ministry life, has been connecting with people who believe in
mm,
Jesus. Now, they may not be living like it, but at their heart, they believe in Jesus. There's a decay that happens among Christians who they just wear the name.
mm,
They're not living the life. And I want to come alongside those people and add some salt. And in doing that, help them to see the life you're living is one that is just gathering decay. There's so much more to following Jesus than just wearing a name
yeah.
on your shirt. And this similarly about light, one of the things I loved that we talked about on Sunday night was this idea that there can be darkness everywhere, but you put on one light.
Mm,
We lit one candle,
mm,
and that can start the fire of everything throughout the room.
mm,
And so there are moments in life when I just don't have it in me. I can't do anymore. I'm tired. My spirit, my soul is weary. But you might light a candle.
mm,
You might spark something and you reflect that back to me. And all of a sudden, oh,
mm,
yes, yes. That's who we are.
mm,
That's what we're doing.
mm,
And so, whether it is being light in the whole darkness of the world,
mm.
there's lots of that, or whether it's being a light that will relight people whose
Oh,
light is just dimming because the world just gets them.
Yeah.
These are believers. I've spent my life around believers who just get tired
Mhm.
and want to give up.
Yeah.
And instead of giving up, can someone just come alongside? I love this when you put two candles together and the flame gets a little bit bigger.
Mm.
Can we just do that
Mm.
for one another?
Mm.
And so that's kind of what we talked about.
Mm.
Just this idea of being somebody who's going to help preserve lives, help people to keep from decaying. Salt is really important, but if it's not salt anymore, you throw it out.
Mm.
I don't want us to lose
Mm.
any believers
Yeah.
because they just can't do it
Yeah.
anymore by themselves.
Mm.
And this idea of light, you're going to put that light up high so everyone can see it. You don't hide it.
Mm.
And if you're hiding it, you're not doing anybody any good. But
Yes.
that's how a lot of
Mm.
Christians live.
Mm.
I don't want anybody to
Mm.
draw attention to myself.
Mm.
I don't want to, because I don't want persecution. Back to
Mhm.
the Beatitudes.
Mm.
I'm ready.
Mm.
Let's go with that.
Mm.
Because that's what happened to Jesus. Whatever Jesus went through, if that's what we're called to do, let's do it.
Yeah.
And salt and light, that's what you'll look like. That's
Mm.
what you'll feel like in this
Mm.
world.
Do you think that maybe the hesitancy of some um, believers to say, "Hey, I'm here," like to shine their light so bright?
Mhm.
Do you think it could be connected with um, the feeling of knowing that I'm also a human being who is susceptible to sin?
Right.
And if I have put myself out there and say, "Hey, here I am, and I'm following Jesus and I'm
Hmm.
shining my light," and then
I
I
screw up.
yeah, I screw up.
Yeah.
And do you think there is something connected to that where people feel like, okay,
Oh,
at least
yeah.
if I screw up and no one knows, I haven't been putting myself out there, then at least I'm safe.
Yeah, if you talk to a lot of people who don't believe in Jesus, one of the things they say about Christians is you're all just a bunch of hypocrites
Mm.
because you're pretending that you're not bad, but we know you make mistakes.
Mm.
Well, for me, it's like this. The truth is, I'm a sinner saved by grace.
Mm.
I am covered by the blood of Jesus. Because I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, I wake up every day knowing that the blood of Jesus has washed me clean this
Mm.
morning. I'm going to get up and give my life to God again today.
Mm.
I'm probably going to screw up again, but Jesus has promised I'm going to be covered by the blood.
Mm.
I'm going to live my life that way. That is a bold way of living that's come from years of experience of screwing up, feeling guilty about it,
Mm.
hiding my light, and
Mm.
then having to come to a realization again that stop doing that, Jan.
Yeah.
When the spirit of the living God is alive in you, and you know that, it gives you a boldness that says, I'm not going to back down from this.
Mm.
And if I make a mistake, so I've got some doozies in my past. And while the whole world may not know them, I have certain people who know
Mm.
because I've confessed to them,
Mm.
because you got to be real somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you have a place where you can confess and be real somewhere, you don't live in fear of being called out or being shamed or because God's already freed me from that,
Mm-hmm.
and you can say, yes,
Mm.
I've screwed up just like everybody else.
Mm.
God's grace has covered me
Mm.
once again.
Mm.
I don't go out looking for reasons to sin
Yeah.
so that grace can abound,
Mm.
but I am 100% confident that God is going to cover any sin that I have in my life, whether I know
Mm.
it or I don't know
Yeah.
it. And so I do think that holds people back because they don't want people to look at them and say, you're
Mm.
a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
But Christians have to realize that we are always in a process of becoming more like Jesus. I am a little bit more like Jesus than I was last year
Yeah.
and the year before that
Mm.
and the year before, but I'm not Jesus.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I don't expect I'm ever going to really look like Jesus
Mm.
in this world.
Mm.
But that's not going to stop me from trying.
Mm.
And so I'm going to keep trying.
Mm.
And one of the things we have to learn this idea, from the Beatitudes, being poor in spirit,
Mm.
being humble.
Mm.
Let's just tell the truth.
Yeah.
Let's just tell the truth. I've made
Mm.
mistakes and God has healed them. Whatever mistake I might make again,
Mm.
God will heal that.
Mm.
I'm not going to let enemy use that as a reason for me to cover my light
Mm.
or to blow it out.
Mm.
So, yeah, I kind of take a pretty bold approach on that. I didn't do that 20 years ago.
Mm.
That's come with lots of experience and lots of wisdom from other people who
Yeah,
have shared that with me.
yeah, yeah. And I was talking to someone about that one of the one of the reasons that I am drawn to even from a distance, but that your life has had an impact in my spirituality is that when I look at you and just observe how you live your life, your spirituality, there is a certain wholeness with it.
Mm,
There's a certain roundness with it. Um, that, and I was telling the person that it's come from lots of experience,
hmm
and lots of wrestling, and people who have had time wrestling, they their spirituality is different. It's more like saying someone who has suffered,
Yeah.
their spirituality is different from someone who has not enjoyed any
Mm,
form of suffering.
right.
And people who have lost and have lost many people,
hmm
um, maybe even over a short period of time, they look at life differently.
hmm
They Their level of sensitivity to other people is different from those who haven't lost.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you also mentioned that 20 years ago you were a different person in
hmm
terms of how you handled
Yes.
screwing up than
Yes.
you handle right now. I remember something that one of my professors said, um, that many times when we sin, we say to ourselves, "Oh, I'm just human."
Right.
I said, "I'm just human,"
Yeah.
and he said, "Maybe we need to think about it from a perspective that says, I sin because I'm not human enough,
Mm,
because the perfect human is Jesus, and who had no sin." And and if Scripture tells us that we are supposed to be conformed to
mm,
the image of Jesus, who is the
mm,
perfect human,
mm,
then we sin because we have not yet been perfected
right.
to be human enough. We are not yet human enough,
Mm,
and that's why we sin. But when we have been with full human beings, then we will be like Jesus and not sin.
yeah.
And that's one thing that we
That's
can take.
that's a
Yeah.
kind of a blow your mind way of thinking at it. I come at it a little bit different way, and for me, it's this. It's the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead
Mhm.
is alive in me,
Mm,
and so because of that, I know that I have the power alive in me to walk away from sin or temptation.
mm,
Because I'm human, I don't choose to do that sometimes,
mm,
and there's a price to be paid for that,
mm,
and so, but Jesus already paid the price for that.
mm,
It's not, I may pay for it because I'm embarrassed or I'm ashamed of myself, but I can come to God and the price has already been paid for that.
mm.
And so I hear where you're coming from. To me, it's the power that allows me to be a human like Jesus is the spirit
Yes.
of
Mhm,
God alive in me that was
mhm,
alive in
mhm,
Jesus. And so that's what I want to live up to.
mm,
I want to live up to the spirit and what he's calling me to
mm.
do in my life so that I become more like the perfect human
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. 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 And yeah. I also like what you said, what you mentioned earlier when when you were talking about light, and that one of the ways that we become light is, when we notice another person's
hmm
light dimming because of maybe
hmm
struggle or whatever it is, and then we can come and be with the person,
Yeah.
and give them our light and share our light with them. I think that's something that we really need as the people of God.
hmm
Um, because sometimes when we deal with other Christians who are struggling, maybe they're struggling with sin, or whatever struggle that they have, um, we we usually take two extremes. One extreme would be, just get out and just
hmm
just kick the person,
Right.
and one. The other extreme would be to say that we want to show as much grace as we can,
hmm
and we end up not being
Yeah.
truthful
Yeah.
about whatever it is that happened. Um, but I think that that balance is something that we desperately need. Is there anything from your experience and from what you think about, and um, that you think would be helpful for the people of God to be able to continually encourage each other and be light to each other and be salt to each other, especially when one of us seems to be struggling in some way?
Yeah. You know, here's the thing, we're called to community, but so few people understand what community really means and the power of it.
Mm.
It's much easier to have this personal relationship with God. And I think we were just talking about this in class today. The pandemic
Mm.
did a number on us all.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because some people like me, okay, I'm already a person who I love time alone with God. I could stay there all the time.
Mm.
I love it. But I'm also called
Yeah.
into community.
Mm.
So I have to work harder at community because I am so wired just like
Mm.
I could be a monk maybe, do that. I
Oh,
could live.
definitely. One of the things that I'm like, I think I've shared it with you. That one of the things like I don't like about being in this country is that there isn't a, I don't know, maybe there is, there isn't a monastery here. If there was a monastery
You
here,
might
I
be
would,
there.
oh, maybe not really live there like as a monk, but just have some time to go there sometimes. Just escape to the
Right.
place where I can just
Yeah.
among monks, like
There's something about that, right? Well, that's really appealing to a lot of us, but also there are also people who maybe not because they really want to get away and be with God,
mm,
they just don't want to connect to other people
mm,
about their faith.
mm,
Okay, one of the things about us is that we're designed that we do best when we are connected to other people.
mm,
And so, as a believer and a person who is inclined to be a little bit more of an introvert, a lot of the times, I have to push myself into community because in community, that's where I'm going to be a person who encourages others
mm,
and be a person who is encouraged by others. Okay, so I have actively sought out places in my life where I can be in community, whether or not that community might be a specific church.
mm,
Because, like, I just moved 6 months ago and I left behind my prayer group that I've been in for the last 10 years. Love that group. They are my community. And I can sustain that. We can do group chats and
mm,
stuff like that. We can meet by video. And I could go and not have another group, but I'm looking, how can I put together another group like that where I'm living now? Because I know I need it and I know others need it.
mm,
And I have a group of people that I meet with once a year. We've met now for 20 years. We met each other through camp, came together, and began sharing life together. Once a year, we gather for 3 days, but we stay in each other's
mm,
lives. And it has been transformational for all of us.
mm,
That's not church, but it is church.
mm.
It's the
Yes,
family
definitely.
of God, but we only really spend 3 days together every year.
Mm,
And then we're praying for each other. We're involved in each other's lives. But what I know I need is I need people who know me and I know them. So when I sit down at church on Sunday, I connect with the person I'm sitting next to.
yeah.
I know what's going on in their life. I can ask them how it's going, or I can read it on their face. I know them that well. I'm not quite there yet, but I know that's my goal now in a new town, in a new church.
Mm,
It's easy for me, would be really easy for me to continue to live stream my church I just left because I feel like I'm there. If I do that, that's not the same. And so we can get caught up in thinking if I watch church on TV
mm,
and I participate fully,
mm,
that's not the same thing as being in the room,
yeah.
almost feeling people's
Mm,
heartbeats, connecting with them,
mm,
sharing that experience, and then finding some people within that group
yeah.
that you share your heart with,
Yeah.
you share your mistakes with, you share meals with, you
Mm,
do fun things
mm,
with, you cry with. We all need that. And God's designed us so that we find that
yeah.
in a community, but a lot of us don't don't go that far.
Yeah.
We just go to church,
Mm,
talk to some people, hi,
mm,
hi, hi, go home.
yeah.
And so that's the thing I think that we're missing the most is that we're not willing to push ourselves through to be vulnerable and to open up our lives. Because you know what? My life's busy.
Mm,
I just don't. I don't have any more time for any more
mm,
people to tell me their stuff.
mm.
That's
And I have
the
so
enemy
much
in
going
me
on in my life
already.
that
Right.
I just don't want, I can't take
I can't
anything
take
in.
anymore.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
take
yeah,
anymore. So
yeah.
I just want,
Right.
I have my own drama and I just want to deal with my
Yes.
drama and then I don't want I also don't want to share my drama with others
Totally. Yeah.
because then I might hear it somewhere else, and someone may come and hit me with what I've
Right.
said, and those things. So there's also the struggle of running away from
Mm-hmm.
community. That if I open myself up, I'm opening up myself
Right.
to be loved, but I'm also opening myself up to be
Hurt.
hurt.
And this is the thing about you got to make a decision. Being light and salt means you're still going to do it even if it's hard.
Mm.
Because anything less than that, it's salt that's losing its
Yes, yeah.
saltiness. It's light that's being
Mm.
covered.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
When someone shows you how to live like that in community, that looks good.
Mm.
But, oh, it seems like it would be really hard. And so that's part of the thing you have going in your mind.
Yeah.
Either it's too hard, I can't try
Mm.
it, or
Mm.
it's too dangerous because somebody's going to hurt me.
Yeah.
But we got to let go of those
Mm.
and still just do what Jesus did. Can you imagine? This is the thing. Can you imagine how frustrated Jesus must have been with those people he was hanging out with? None of them were building him up.
Mm.
You think about this.
Mm.
They were taking. Nobody was building Jesus up.
Mm.
Even the guys he was closest to,
Mm.
they weren't building him up. They were just falling asleep,
Mm.
or
Or
asking dumb
arguing,
questions.
arguing
Yes.
about who's going to take over as the leader of the
Right.
group when Jesus leaves. And
And so this is what they were before the cross. After the cross, they're hiding in a room trying to figure out what to do. Jesus shows up.
mm.
They become world changers.
Mm.
All of a sudden. Now, they're still going to have a few arguments
Yeah.
in there, right? But they become world changers who die for their faith.
Mm.
I want to have that kind of boldness.
Mm.
That kind of boldness makes me stay in
Mm.
community. It makes me seek community in a new town and not hang on to just what I know is comfortable in the past.
Yeah.
It makes me seek it because I know that that is what honors Jesus.
Mm.
And I can do that. Sometimes it's hard, but I can do that. But I just think so many times about, oh, nobody encouraged Jesus. This is why
Mm.
he had to get away and spend time with
Spend
God,
time together.
because he wasn't getting that from anyone around them. This is the secret of it to me as I looked at Jesus.
Mm.
The secret is time with God fills me up
Mm.
so that I have what I need for these
Mm.
interactions with other people that would seem to deplete me,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But if I have my head on straight and I've
Mhm.
spent time with God being fueled so that I live and think more like
Mm.
Jesus, I'm ready
Yeah.
to pour my life out for
Yeah.
other people.
Mm.
I'm not being selfish with my time.
Mm.
I'm not being selfish with whatever possessions I have
Mm.
or energy I have.
Mm.
And I'm more willing
Yeah.
to open my life
Mm.
up to people.
Mm.
I want to be more like that.
Yeah. I want to be more like that too. I I think as a father, um that's and what you just said, I think I needed to hear that as a father, that more time with God like feeds me up so that I can be able to continue pouring to
Yeah.
my kids
Yeah.
who like right now when I get back to them, they just want more and more and more.
There's never enough.
They just want more and more and more and more from me. And I can't be able to pour myself and love
Hmm.
and just cherish them if I'm coming from a place where I know that I'm also loved and
Right.
cherished and I've been filled with that
Right.
love from God.
And just
So
like we talked about at the retreat, we look for other people to do that for us.
oh yeah,
They
they
can't.
can't.
They're dealing with their own inadequacies
Mm,
or lack of energy or lack of motivation or lack of whatever.
yeah.
We want other people to be the ones who can make us feel the way we need to feel so we can
Mm,
do all those things. The only one who can do that is God.
yeah.
But that's often the last place we look
Mm, yeah.
because it seems like other humans should be able to do that for
Hmm.
us.
Yeah. If you love me, then
You, of
you can,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
do this. You should be able to do this for me.
It's,
Ah, man. All right. All right. I think let's before we go on and on and on and on and on. But it's really been a pleasure to sit down with you, Jen, and just to talk and just to
yeah.
hear your heart and you sharing sharing yourself with us. and you sharing yourself with ACC.
Yeah,
Again,
I
the
love
last
that.
time you were here was 2022.
I know. Seems like it's been a
It's been,
lot's
yeah,
happened since
it's been
then.
a long
Yeah,
time, yeah. But yeah, thank you for your time and all of your work and everything that you do for course people everywhere here at ACC and back in the States and everyone. And thank you
I'm
for the
grateful
conversation.
and pleased I can do it.
Yeah.
This is where God has called me
Mhm,
for now, and it's
mhm.
good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you,
You're very welcome.
Zach.